This is another video on the appellate process and what happens in an appeal. We've talked about what the Court of Appeals can look at, what the Court of Appeals actually does, and we talked about the fact that a Court of Appeals is basically looking at what a trial judge did during the trial and whether the decisions that they made are correct. So the next issue is, assuming that you have a decision that the Court of Appeals thinks is incorrect, what happens? Do you send it back and get another trial? And the answer to that is maybe, maybe not. Just because an error was made in a trial does not mean that you get another trial, that you basically do everything over again. It's actually a pretty rare case where everything's done perfectly, especially if there's a lot of objections made or a lot of rulings that a court has to make. It's pretty rare that all of those are correct when you go back and look at them in hindsight. So the fact that an error was made is only the first step in the process of an appeal. The second step in the process is a Court of Appeals is asked to determine what impact that error had on the decision. And this is when they do have to sort of put themselves in the shoes of jurors and try to evaluate how the case may have been different had that error not been made. It's frankly a pretty subjective opinion in some cases because the court wasn't there and they didn't see the trial, so they're having to evaluate the trial from the record and decide how a particular decision may have impacted the case either favorably or unfavorably. For most things and for most errors, they're going to find that the error is what's called harmless, and that means that it didn't have any impact on the verdict. The more important the ruling, the more significant the evidence, the more likely it is that the court's going to find that the error was harmful. And that's the decision generally that the Court of Appeals is called upon to make. Is first of all, was there error, but then more importantly, what impact did that error have on the actual decision? If it was harmful, then the case is reversed and you get another trial. If it's harmless, then the case is affirmed even though there was error in the trial.